It's called The Limbless and the Limitless. And it's a little different than what we've been hearing, but it's fun. So, humanity began with the choice to love and obey, or to turn and convey everything we own to a master who didn't care if we burned every hair in our head, let alone stop to count how many we had. We were much too quick to choose. You and I had nothing left, not because of theft, but because we chose. We chose to accept the consequence of death, blasting any lie that we have the capacity to retry, to do better next time, because we're not like drunken men trying to walk a straighter line. We're broken. Unable to walk through the narrow gate, not because we're tipsy, but because we don't even have limbs. So, in order to live, we needed something more than a shiny new skin, something more than religion, something more than a new set of rules to live in. We needed something to really destroy the issue of our sin. The problem is, men without limbs can't help each other walk, and blind guides can only lead until they trip over a rock. Yet, in the midst of our writhing, our screaming, and our pain, in the midst of our hidden shame, our guilt-ridden names, and our thinly covered brokenness, hope came. He hid his name, his glory and fame. He covered himself up in order to become like us. And though some live as though it wasn't done, there's no other definition of love. God the Father gave us his only Son. His descent uncovers his passion, and in his suffering we see the stamp of this eternal action as the uncreated King descended from his heavenly dwelling, not because he had to, but because he's willing. Unconstrained but lowly enough to feel our chains. The same one who first asked the Father for light stepped past the Son in order to become flesh, bones, and blood. He's still gladder than the gladdest of us. His name is Jesus. And through his perfect plan, he was born of a woman but not by a man, bypassing the heritage of sin and being born the only man with limbs. Yet, he lived his life leaning, always dependent. He walked like we should have, but inherently couldn't. And when he died, he allowed our pride to unjustly identify him as the problem. Though we, his prostitute bride, were the ones who had acted unsatisfied, running from tree to tree, eating of death, the Father allowed us to scar his Son and strap his back to the most excruciating death device since man's first breath. What we deserved, he endured. Every consequence of the choice that we made, he embraced. And when his side was struck, bloody water poured out like a fountain of life. Still, we refused to drink. We chose to keep our thirst unquenched, but God in his mercy calls us to repentance. See, we weren't just made to walk with limbs in a garden. We were made to soar with wings that bring kingdoms into union, heaven and earth in one reality. It means physical things changing, heartbeats rearranging, back pain fading, dead men reawakening. It means people being freed into new identities. Success that's not based on having the best performance, but it's based on the perfection of the one who went before us. It means self-hatred is decimated. Perversion is a long-forgotten scourge, and self-reliance accompanies defiance into a lake that burns and never stops. See, salvation means more than being rescued forever from damnation. It means you have citizenship in a new nation. It means you have a home in heavenly places, and as a new creation, you have relationship with the one who sits on the throne.
That's right.
It means you have a father.
Yes.
It means you have a protector.
Yes.
It means you have a judge.
Yes.
And it means you're free to love. It means that you're baptized with the Messiah. Baptized under water that takes away your life as in faith you give yourself to Christ. It means you belong to him and you're with him where he is.
Yes.
But this is what's great. he didn't stay in the grave. He came back to life. And so, likewise, we too will rise, sin shoved aside, as we're finally free to behold the one more beautiful than the scent of the tide, more faithful than the sunrise, more outstanding than any man from history gone by. This king, this man, is alive. So, cease your striving. It won't be good enough. The one way to perfection is to be born from above.
What?